Well, it's, again, your friendly local constitutional coup in California, and with events still developing with the Trump administration and going very nicely at this point, about 3 weeks into the term. This video is going to deal with, at one and the same time, mortgage banksters and corporate landlords, neither of whom have any right to do anything to you, especially haul you into one of their administrative tribunals and steal your property without judicial process. That's a trial by jury according to the course of the common law. And you're going to learn by getting my materials. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, that they can't do that, even if they exist. And you're also going to learn that they don't legally exist. They can't do it because laws like that will be null and void, non pro tunc ab initio, that legalese for from day one, as bills of attainder, taking a property without judicial process, exactly like you thought it was. You have property rights. The system doesn't recognize it. What the hell is the problem here? And think about this: these mortgage bankers and corporate landlords and HOAs are in the mix here too. Simply don't recognize the fact that you have property rights, and yet they, as agents of our agents in government, seem to have enforceable rights. How the hell does that work? You're going to learn how it doesn't work. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, and we should be able to take care of business early on here, particularly with the documents that you're going to get when you order my materials. I've got number one, a love letter to these people and to their attorneys, and you can distribute it to a lot of other places as well. The presiding judge, the governor, the attorney general, explaining that there isn't any jurisdiction and doing it with attitude and with authority. We don't make any of it up. It all comes from the U.S. Supreme Court for the most part, and or those racist framers and the original intent they had by creating this Constitution to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Not Chase Bank, not IBM, not your local mortgage bankster. They're corporate entities. They're beholden to us. You're going to love what you hear here. Best of all, by getting my materials, you can learn and pass it on to your children and your posterity so they can avoid all this nonsense from day one that you've been subjected to and that you would know and should know of the mandatory public education system, had taught you anything, which it didn't. And it didn't for me all those decades ago either, right outside of Washington, D.C. Better education in a lot of ways. You didn't have all this transgender crap going on. That's 14th Amendment. You'll learn that's federal, regional, martial law rule. Just like what your bankster does or your landlord. That's what they're using. But you ain't in the army, are you? How are they doing it? You will learn. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. It's absolutely stunning. But when you get the issues in there, even in their corrupt courts, otherwise known as administrative tribunals, and take close notice here that the current justices of the U.S. Supreme Court are in their fifth term of a long overdue all-out assault on the administrative state. That's great news for us. That court, as you know now, is going to be there for the next 10 or 12 years. What with Trump in office and ready to make 3 or 4 more appointments in the next 4 years. And they know exactly what I'm talking about here. That's what you'll also learn about is how to get there and do it on the express train if we have to. And that's the leverage we're going to use to get these bastards to pay you off big time. Because success in your one case, especially with the U.S. Supreme Court, if it gets there, is going to put them out of business from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. And we'll see how these shitheads like to be homeless. How is that for justice? And that's what we have the power to do. It's amazing how good a job those racist framers did. No, it wasn't a perfect government. Everybody understands that. Only the best one ever invented. We want it back. And if we succeed in doing that, and the justices on the court know exactly what I'm talking about here, I've got maybe the biggest win in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court in a Midwest case I'm handling right now. And it looks different because it's a quote unquote criminal case, but it's the same issues that arise in your case. You're being subjected to at least quasi criminal jurisdiction, and there's no way you volunteer into that. That's another thing you're going to learn. They don't have any enforceable agreement on the other side. They're all contracts of adhesion, otherwise known as bills of attainder. That's the correct issue. They can't get around it if the Constitution remains in full force and effect. And I believe it does, and the current justices believe it does. And you don't go up there with the BS due process issues or equal protection. 14th Amendment, you're pleading slave law when you do it, and there's no need to do it. You're going to learn all about that one too. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. It's absolutely amazing the situation that we're in, and we haven't had this kind of a window, especially in the U.S. Supreme Court, for close to 100 years, and maybe more than that. Going back to FDR and the New Deal, would have been nice if the people back then would have known that the deck contained 54 jokers, but it's all there. I mean, you understand it. And that's what I was put here to do, is to teach you how to do it so you can teach your children and your posterity how to do it. And a big bonus there is now we get educated people on the jury, if and when we ever get there, who are going to know they have the power to rule on the facts and the law. That's what we do. We're principal and agent here, not guardian and ward, and sure as hell not master and slave, which is what they think. I mean, really amazing what they get. You look at the materials you're going to get. It says it with attitude and with authority, all of what I'm saying. So send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. We can take care of a lot of business there. And for the most part, get it done administratively. We're not going to be in the courts for years for any BS civil rights violations that don't exist. You'll learn that too. That 14th Amendment has never existed, and that's all they have. It's just great news for all of us here. So send me an email, youwincourt@gmail.com. Tell your friends, get the word out. The quicker we take action, the quicker we put these bastards out of business. Thank you.